Solving multi-step equations, lesson 8, worksheet number 1. This worksheet only has 10 questions. I'm going to do question 3 and question 9 with you. The rest will be on your own. You follow the same 4 steps for every single problem. The first thing you want to look for is the distributive property. After the distributive property, you want to look for to combine like terms. After you combine like terms, you want to make sure you have all your variable terms on one side and all your constant terms on the other side of the equation. And then the last step is to multiply or divide to isolate the variable. So let's look at question number 3. All right, so the first step I want to do is the distributive property, which is what this is right here. Now I drew an arrow underneath that 1r because there's nothing to do with it but bring it down. Negative 3 times r would be negative 3r. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. Keep my equal signs lined up. There's nothing to do with the 26, but bring it down. So step 1 was the distributive property. Step 2 is to combine like terms. So I've got 1r and negative 3r that I can combine. I have this negative 18 as a constant on the left, and 26 is all by itself on the right, so I don't need to do anything with that. 1r minus 3r would be negative 2r. Bring down the negative 18, keep the equal signs lined up, bring down the 26. All right. Third step, variable terms to one side, constant terms to the other side. Well, there is only one variable term, and it is on the left side. So I leave it where it is, and I take my constant to the right. So the opposite, or the inverse of negative 18, is positive 18. So these would cancel. Bring down the negative 2r. Keep the equal signs lined up. 26 plus 18 is 44. The last step is to isolate the variable. This is multiplication. The inverse of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. Cancel those out. And my final answer is r equals negative 22. Take a moment and write all of that down. All right. Let's look at number 9. Oh, by the way, you see all these arrows I have? That's because you don't do anything with those in the first step. You just bring them down. For number 1, just bring down the 6x. 2, just bring down the 4g. 4, just bring down that negative 3k, and so forth. All right, for number 9. Now, notice I put this 1 in front of the m minus 4. When there's no number out front, you put a 1. But do I really need to put that there? No, because when you multiply by 1, it doesn't change anything. It's a positive 1, doesn't change anything. So in other words, that m minus 4, I'll just be bringing it down. So step 1 is the distributive property. So I just bring down the m minus 4. Negative 4 times m is negative 4m. Negative 4 times 7 is negative 28. All right, now this distributive property. When you multiply by negative 1, all you're doing is changing the signs or taking the opposite of whatever's on the inside. So the opposite of positive m would become negative 1m. I'm going to throw a 1 in front of this m as well. And then the opposite of positive 6 is negative 6. On the right side, when I do the distributive property here, 10 times m is 10m. 10 times 3 is 30. And again, this last one, I'm multiplying by negative 1. So the opposite of positive 7m is negative 7m. And the opposite of positive 5 is negative 5. So step 1 is the distributive property. Step 2 is to combine like terms. So I've got 1m, I have negative 4m, negative 1m, I've got negative 4, negative 28, negative 6. So that's what I can combine on the left side. The right side, I've got 10m, and negative 7m, 30, and negative 5. All right, so now I combine my like terms. Now I want you to notice that I've got a positive 1m and a negative 1m. Well, when you've got opposites, they cancel out. So I'm going to cancel out that and that. Now, if you didn't do that, if you put in your calculator 1 minus 4 minus 1, you'd still get the same thing in the end. So that's okay if you did it that way. So I have negative 4m. Then I've got negative 4, negative 28, and negative 6. In your calculator, you should be putting negative 4 minus 28 minus 6. And if you do that, you get negative 38. On the right side, 10m minus 7m would be 3m. And 30 minus 5 is positive 25. All right. Step 3 is to get your variable terms to one side and your constant terms to the other side. So I'm going to start with my variable term. Maybe. All right, so I'm going to take the 3m, it's positive, so the inverse would to make it negative 3m. So I take that to the left. And if I take my variable term to the left, that means I need to take my constant term to the right. It's negative 38, so I make it positive 38. That allows me to cancel my variable terms on the right and my constant terms on the left. So that would give me negative 7m equals 25 plus 38 would give me 63. All right, one more step. Last step is to divide both sides by negative 7 because I want to isolate my variable. So I divide both sides by negative 7. Cancel the negative 7s. M equals 63 divided by negative 7 is negative 9. All right. Take a moment, make sure you have all of that written down. If you have any questions on this worksheet, please do not hesitate to ask. You need to be extremely careful when you are adding and subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Make sure you have your signs correct. Make sure when you do the distributive property, you don't forget variables. I notice that as a common mistake, so please be very careful. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. If you need a Zoom, just let me know.